Good evening, faithful viewers of My Media Prime Television. Thanks for being a part of today's edition of Prime News, coming to you live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital. With me, Fon Quinter. Begin today's edition of Prime News in the Southwest region, where pupils in Meme Division have written their first school living certificate examination in accommodation centers created in Kumba 1 subdivision. The one of examination recorded an improvement as compared to last year. Thampful Sidwan files in details.
As early as 6 a.m., pupils in Kumba 1, 2 and 3 subdivisions were accompanied to the various accommodation centers by their parents to sit in for the first school living certificate examination. In Kumba 2, the Inspector of Basic Education, Matuge Ivo, said the turnout was good as compared to last year, thanks to the security provided by the administration.
We want to thank the state for providing enough security in this our center. The children are in, the parents have all gone back home. As you can see, the atmosphere is very quiet.
The divisional officer of the subdivision, Ewane Kinangwana, also appreciated parents who turned out to ensure that their children sit in for the end of course examination.
This morning, we were very impressed to see parents coming out massively to accompany their children to write this exam. And coming out today is a sign of commitment, is an indication that they know the importance of education and that they are not ready again to sacrifice the education of their children. The parents have proven that they are ready to go to any extent to ensure that their children go to school, write their exams, get their certificates, and be better persons tomorrow.
In Kumba 2 subdivision, 1,768 pupils sat in for the end of course examination, while in Kumba 3, 896 pupils also sat in, as explained by the Inspector of Basic Education.
The challenges I had during the government common entrance examination and the number of absentees due to the environmental situation that we find ourselves has not been the case today. Today, with the 900 registered candidates I have for this examination, I tell you, just 4 are absent, as per 55 during the common entrance. So I am very comfortable with the attendance as of now.
The issue of insecurity has also been a major problem, reason why pupils had to leave Kumba 2 and Kumba 3 to sit in for the examination in Kumba 1 subdivision.
It is no secret that we are having some insecurity in Kumba 2. And so we thank the senior divisional officer for, first of all, giving us an accommodation in Kumba 1 subdivision.
We are using this environment because it's an accommodating center which can accommodate our kids conveniently and with all the securities put in place.
Generally, the turnout in Kumba 1, 2 and 3 was encouraging as compared to last year.
We stay with Thampful Sidwan, who reports that pupils from Konye and the Kome Balwe subdivisions also read examinations in Kumba because their areas are considered red zones due to the armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. His report.
We have been waiting for 20 minutes.
Due to the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions, Class 6 pupils from Konye subdivision have written their first school living certificate examination in an accommodation center created in Kumba 1 subdivision. The Inspector of Basic Education for Konye stated that the number of pupils who registered this year is encouraging as compared to last year.
This first school, it's so good because the children, they have come. Like in my center, I have only one child who has not come out of 64 of them. Only one has not come. So I am saying that first school, the atmosphere of first school is better than that of common entrance.
He also stated that the crisis is still on, reason why they are writing out of Konye subdivision, which is now considered a red zone.
Actually, Konye is a no-go zone. Let us say the truth about it. Yes, it is true that to some extent they have accepted that schooling should go in Konye, but to a larger extent when security is concerned, we cannot risk these children's, period of going to school by saying that we must write in Onye. The infrastructures are not even there. The schools have been burnt down. So how do you put a child in an uncomfortable environment to write an exam?
Also writing in Kumba 1 Accommodation Center, where schools from Dikome-Balwe Subdivision, Jan Division, they are writing in Kumba due to the persistent armed battles that has made the area uncomfortable. Speaking off camera, the Inspector of Basic Education for Dikome-Balwe said 79 pupils answered present at the written part of the first school living certificate examination. The first school living certificate examination and other academic activities in Dikome-Balwe as well as other areas of the Southwest region may only go hitch-free in the coming academic years if the crisis comes to a permanent end.
Away from education, Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration, Athanganji Paul, held a special consultative meeting at the Limbe City Council to reassure the management of the Cameroon Development Corporation that the issue of illegal land grabbing would be a thing of the past. Catherine Kongwe completes the story.
Following the issue of land grabbing and the random creation of villages in Fako's vision, the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Athanganji, during a special consultative talk at the Limbe City Council deliberation chambers over the weekend, has reassured the management of Cameroon Development Corporation, CDC, that no inch of the corporation land will be lost illegally into the hands of unscrupulous individuals who create villages overnight in quest for lands at all costs.
Have deliberately asked the administration to put land titles in their names, which is not correct. The funds belong to the community, and the community is not one person. So what I'm telling the local administrative authorities, because at the level of the GOs where they have the consultative committee, where they chair, if a fund is coming to tell you to put an administrative document in his name, you should tell him no, it's not correct, because you are representing a community. So that's where you have to have.
The minister also warned against the random creation of villages in the name of revamping lost villages and reassures the FACO members of parliament and senators that a commission has been created to look into the above complaints.
We have examined the two issues: the creation of columns, which are legal or illegal, and land grabbing. But to solve the problem of land grabbing, we need the collaboration of the parliamentarians, the chiefs, the elite, so that we should at least know what has been done, what has gone wrong, and where we can correct the issues.
Speaking on behalf of the FACO MPs, the Honorable Member of Parliament for FACO East Constituency, Gladys Etombi, thanked Minister Athanganji for his prompt reaction to this problem that has been tearing the division apart, while begging on the administrators to always carry out deep investigations before implementing their decisions. The highly attended meeting brought together FACO administrators, senior security officials, members of parliament and senators, some local chiefs, among others.
Now, the United Nations Humanitarian Coordinator in Cameroon has urged authorities to bring to book perpetrators of the Mamfe District Hospital arson. This is contained in a release issued June 10, 2022. Get details right ahead. This was the Mamfe District Hospital before it was set ablaze by suspected separatist fighters on June 8, 2022. The health facility that was reduced to ashes, now a shadow of its real self, covered more than 85,000 people living in that division, as it served as a primary medical referral covering the needs of the remote areas of Manu Division. Following the razing of the hospital, the United Nations, while condemning the destruction of the health facility, has demanded investigations be opened. In a statement, the humanitarian coordinator at interim in Cameroon has strongly condemned the destruction of the district hospital of Mamfe Manu Division, southwest region of Cameroon. In the statement dated June 10, 2022, the coordinator indicated that on June 8, suspected elements of a known state armed group reportedly carried out an attack in the locality of Egbeko, and in the course of the event, the hospital was set on fire and apparently destroyed. The destruction of the district hospital of Mamfi is a bitter pill for the denizens to swallow, as it has deprived them of the urgently needed care and further weakened the local health system. Since January 2022, there has been at least 5 attacks against health facilities, with health workers and patients not left out, as many have been threatened, abducted, injured, and killed. To this effect, the humanitarian coordinator in Cameroon has called on all parties to protect health care and refrain from hindering access to medical services, as all of these are serious violations of international human rights law. The coordinator stated, investigations must be opened and perpetrators held to account. Now it is a new dawn for the population of Limbe, southwest region of Cameroon, who started a new week with a new traditional ruler, His Royal Highness John Elufemanga Williams. He received the staff of leadership over the weekend in Limbe, as our southwest correspondent Emanuela C. tells us.
17 years of taunts, hoes and disagreements on who is right and fit for the throne of Limbe. The fights, court cases and injunction orders have all come to an end as Chief John Elufemanga Williams, who received powers from the Atlantic Ocean, has been presented to the entire population as the paramount ruler of Limbe Chiefdom. Graced in a colorful event attended by over 4 ministers, traditional rulers, and traditional dance groups, Chief Samuel Opupa of Dikolo village gave him the traditional staff of leadership. The elephants from the mountain all attended to welcome the new king. Noting that it is the second coronation and the first of a paramount ruler that Chief Dr. Robert Isukambela Endeli, paramount ruler of Boya, is attending since his coronation, his entrance was powerful. The traditional rulers of Limbe called on the population to work hand in gloves with the new paramount ruler for a better tomorrow.
Limbe can now think ahead. Limbe can now rekindle the flame of our cultural heritage.
Every son and daughter of this great city, which was called Victoria, now Limbe, should come on board and join the paramount ruler to rekindle the light of Limbe that was lost.
In the meantime, the paramount ruler of Limbe, grandson of Chief John Nambeke Manga Williams of blessed memory, called on all and sundry to help him achieve his vision for Limbe Chiefdom, as he noted that Limbe in the days ahead will soon have a befitting museum and a multipurpose center. All hail the king.
That was part of measures to curb inflation in Cameroon. The Fundi Divisional Delegation for Traders organized the sales of basic commodities at official prices to benefit denizens of Yaoundé, Cameroon's capital city. Mwanze Njoyogo completes the story.
On June 10th, the Divisional Delegate for Trade from Fundi in the Central Region of Cameroon made public a press release informing the public that, as from June 13th to June 17th, there will be a public sale of basic commodities at official prices at the Fundi Divisional Delegation of Trade. Basic commodities such as vegetable oil, rice, sardines, spaghetti, detergents, and many others are on display for sale. To add, the Divisional Delegate for Trade for the Fundi Division is urging all inhabitants of this locality to partake in these public sales and pleads with other enterprises to regulate their prices of basic commodities. It is worth bearing in mind that since the start of this year, prices of basic commodities have increased throughout the national territory. The most noticeable of these commodities being flour, as a bag now costs 24,500 francs, but was previously sold at 19,500 francs, and a liter of vegetable oil now costs 1,400 francs, but was previously sold at 1,100 francs for refined and 1,000 francs for unrefined. These increase in prices have lowered the standards of living of many Cameroonian families. Hopefully, the sale of these basic necessities at official prices will aid the inhabitants of Fundy for the time being, while waiting for the government to reduce the actual prices of basic commodities.
The 2022 International Albinism Awareness Day has been celebrated under the theme United in Making Our Voices Heard. One day after June 13, we talked with Mola Mongombe, Cameroonian jazz singer, who shares his experience. Nolinga Day with details.
As stakeholders, governments, international bodies, and individuals continue to raise awareness on albinism, Mola Mongombe, a Cameroonian Jakuja sensational singer, also known as Roy Soleil, is a successful musician living with albinism, who says the condition is not a problem, but on the other hand, can be better termed nature's deficiency, while naming some of the challenges they face.
From the human eye, I think we have just two things that pose as a problem. The first thing we have as problem is a vision. The vision, short eyesight for most of us, not all. And the second being the skin, the lack of melanin, which makes it very difficult to cope under very hot conditions.
But how did stigmatization affect Mola before now?
Growing up, I have faced situations of discrimination and stigmatization as a kid. Going to school, children will give you names and all that stuff. It's very normal. They call you Ngengeru, they call you Mukala, they call all those, which being a small boy, we saw those things as insult. But growing up, as time unfolds, you discover that it was not meant to be any problem. It wasn't any problem at all.
Given that albinism affects the production of melanin, that is, the pigment that colors the skin, hair and eyes, Mola Mongombe will now mention what he's been doing to overcome these challenges.
How I've been able to overcome these main weaknesses. For the eye problem, I have my lenses. I have my lenses in my house, my reading lenses. I also have my driving lenses because I do drive. So to fix that, just like somebody with black skin, you can be able to have you go see a doctor, you get your vision correction or vision aid lenses, and that's fixed.
Dwelling on the question of spatial dieting, Mola would rather make shocking revelations.
That it's a myth about eating, because from my research, I understand that persons living with albinism have a problem with the skin, and the skin has nothing to do internally. Okay, what you eat has nothing to do with this flesh. Even for a black skin person, for example, if you have to eat, they say you are what you eat. So it must not necessarily be an albino to control your diet.
While talking the way forward, Mola also highlights what government needs to do in creating more awareness.
Well, maybe they should get free lenses, create more associations of albino awareness, get lenses where they could donate to those who cannot afford to buy. Sunscreen, they could donate to people who cannot afford to buy, get to centers and hospitals, give more dermatologists to be able to check our skins and all that stuff. I think that's what government can do.
Today, Mola Mongombe is a successful Cameroonian vocalist and guitarist who is not limited by myths and beliefs.
On to health, Bokengo Wadi dwells on food poisoning, and according to statistics, about 420,000 people die each year as a result of food poisoning, her report.
Bacteria intoxication, fungi intoxication, chemical and plant toxicants, as well as infected animals are triggers for foodborne intoxication or poisoning.
Food poisoning is an illness or an infection which is caused by eating a contaminated food.
Bearing symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, fever, dehydration, diarrhea, bloating, abdominal pains, dizziness, fatigue, indigestion, amongst others, the causes are many than one.
It is very important for us to understand that a food that is contaminated does not necessarily smell bad, nor taste bad, nor look bad. So it is difficult for us to see or smell a food and determine if it is poisoned or not.
It should be borne in mind that
there are two main categories. So a food poisoning could be from a foodborne infection or from foodborne intoxication. So starting with foodborne infection, when we foodborne infection here means that we eat live microorganisms that get into our system, stay in our intestines and start causing problems. And when we talk about these live microorganisms, they could be bacteria such as E. coli, which normally causes diarrhea. It could be Salmonella, which usually causes typhoid. It could be Shigella, which normally causes dysentery. Aside bacteria, we also have viruses like a hepatitis A virus. We also have parasites such as Egardia lamblia, toxoplasmosis, and tapeworms. Okay, now coming to foodborne intoxication. Foodborne intoxication simply means that we consume the toxins, that's harmful substances produced by microorganisms. So when we consume or when we eat these harmful substances, they get to our system and they cause infection.
In Cameroon, an estimated 252,000 persons were victims of food poisoning as of August 2019, with a 48% being women, a 52% being men under 70, and an 85% being toddlers and young adults. To this regard, educating oneself on good hygienic practices such as washing of hands with soap and running water, cook, preserve and chill food well are some methods which should be a necessity for a safe population as well as their overall health.
And the head of state, President Paul Biya, has ordered that the sum of 181 million be disbursed to the senior men's national football team as special prize for the team's qualification for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Cynthia Azanu completes the story.
Of 181 million by the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, was disclosed by the Minister of Sports and Physical Education, Professor Narcisse Mwele-Kombi. In a letter addressed to the captain of the Lions, Vincent Abubakar, the Minister of Sports and Physical Education said the special bonus is in line with the promise made by the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, prior to the qualifications. This letter reads, the head of state has given his accord for the exceptional prize to be given to the Lions. The match bonus worth 181 million will be deducted from the coffers of the Minister of Sports and Physical Education according to the rules of participation and will be deposited in the individual bank accounts of the teammates and technical staff of the national team. In total, more than 530 million francs CFA has been paid to the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon as bonuses for their last World Cup qualifier against Algeria. It is worth noting that Cameroon defeated Algeria in a match this year in the playoffs qualifier in the World Cup in Qatar.
We've come to the end of the 6:30 p.m. edition of News on My Media Prime Television. Coming up at exactly 7 p.m. is Prime Hour with Kum Leonard and his team. I'm Fon Quinter. Have a blessed evening in the company of more programs on The African Eye. Goodbye.